This is a story from a book called The Echoes of the Elders, Stories and Paintings of Chief Leluska, edited by Christine Normandin. The Old Owl Witch. Once there was a beautiful village. Trees towered into the sky behind it. A broad open beach stretched before it, and at one end there was a pile of huge rocks that the people called Rocky Point. The people had good fishing and hunting grounds. They were rich and happy. The village was a lively place with many laughing children. Then something terrible happened. The children often played among the houses and in the nearby forest, for it was quite safe there. But the parents told the children they must never go deep into the forest, and especially they must never ever go into that part of the forest where the old hut stood. A very strange creature lives there, the parents warned. That creature, or whatever it is, has been there for a long time. It has never bothered us, so we must never bother it. The children obeyed their parents, but after a while some of the bolder ones decided to find the hut and watch for the strange creature. The hut was built of old discarded boards and poles, tree branches, moss, and sticks. It looked more like a beaver's den than the house of something human. During the daylight, the children watched and watched, but no one ever came out. Only late in the evening, just as the parents were calling them into the house, could the children hear a faint stirring inside the hut. This excited the imaginations of the children. They wanted to find out what lived in that strange little dwelling. So each day they crept closer and closer to the hut. Come out, called the children. We want to see what you look like." Some of the children even threw rocks and sticks at the hut, but still no creature appeared. The persistent children continued to do this day after day. Finally, one evening, just at nightfall, when all the people were gathered around their cooking fires, enjoying their meals and telling stories, a strange figure appeared. It hovered in the doorway of the great cedar house, in the shadows where the firelight could not reveal its appearance. The people only saw that the figure was low and squat. Its hollow voice sounded like someone speaking from a deep hole in the ground. "I have never bothered you," said the figure. "I wish only to be left alone. Leave me in peace, and no harm will come to you or your mischievous children. I warn you, leave me in peace, or something terrible will happen." Then the shadowy figure disappeared into the darkness. The people could hear owls calling to each other in the forest, but strangely, there seemed to be a great many more owls than usual. For a time, the children obeyed their parents, but soon they grew bored with their usual games. They decided they would again try to solve the mystery of what lived in the ramshackle hut. They sneaked to the hut and began throwing rocks and yowling and yelling insults, and thoroughly misbehaving themselves. As dark surrounded the village, the mysterious figure again appeared in the shadows. "I have warned you once," hissed the creature. "Your children continue to annoy me, even though I do you and them no harm. Do not, I say, do not let this happen again." Then the creature faded into the night. Many more owls called out in the darkness. The frightened children stayed in the village and were well behaved for a long time after that, but they could not forget the excitement of sneaking into the forest, and they longed to see what the strange creature in the hut looked like. So the children went to the hut again and threw rocks and yelled insults. A third time the mysterious creature visited the village to demand that it be allowed to live in peace. Again the children obeyed. But finally their curiosity overcame their fear, and they went to the hut a fourth time. They threw sticks and rocks, and even dared to pull branches from the dwelling itself. That night the figure appeared in the village once again. The people could feel its anger like the searing heat from a fire. 4 times I have come to you pleading for peace, it cried. 4 is a magic number. I will come no more. Something dreadful will happen if you do not control your children. You will suffer the consequences. I wish only to be left alone. The figure stepped forward, and the flickering firelight revealed its huge, staring yellow eyes and long, wild hair. It carried a wooden staff. The top of the staff was carved in the shape of an owl, which moved and turned its head. In the forest, great numbers of owls hooted. The strange creature stared at the people. Its fierce eyes seemed to pierce each one of them. Then it was gone. The village parents were concerned. They did not know if this creature was a spirit or a ghost or some dreadful being that humans were not meant to see or understand. They scolded the children and told them they would be severely punished if they ever went near the hut again. For a long time the children obeyed, but then they forgot the creature's 4 warnings. A few bold and disobedient children led the others deep into the forest and deep into trouble again. The foolish children began to throw sticks and rocks at the hut and call out insults. The sun sank slowly into the sea, and it grew darker and darker. Suddenly the rotten hide covering the door of the hut flew open. Out stepped the mysterious creature, wrapped in a robe of feather-like material. Its hands were claws, and it grasped the same wooden staff with the carved owl that blinked its eyes and clicked its beak. The creature's feet were more like bird feet than human feet. Between its yellow eyes was a sharp hooked nose. "You would not listen," bellowed the creature. "Now you will learn more than you ever wanted to know about me. I am the Owl Witch, the chief of all the owl people. My power is great. If you had left me alone, there would be no problem. But now your parents must learn that children must obey." The Owl Witch lifted her staff, and all the owls in the forest began to hoot. They circled over the children with their gray wings spread wide. One owl lit on the old Owl Witch's head and glared fiercely at the children. Back in the village, the parents were worried. Night was falling and the children were not home. The forest echoed with the calls of many owls. Deep in the forest, the Owl Witch waved her staff over the children and began to sing a strange, haunting song. As she sang, the children grew smaller and smaller, except for their ears, which remained rather large. Then the children grew long, slender tails, and in a few moments the Owl Witch had transformed all the children into furry little mice. The frightened mice scattered into the forest to hide. The owls pursued them, and a great noise arose from the hooting and squeaking and squealing. Then a terrible silence fell upon the forest. After that, there was no joy in the village at Rocky Point, for all the children were gone. The people went to live among other tribes, and their houses slowly decayed. Now only the great fallen timbers sleep under the moss and the berry brush. It is a lonesome place of shadows and mysterious voices in the wind. Each night, just as the sun disappears into the sea, the owls return, and their calls echo through the darkness.